Hi all, and thank you for joining us for this video. To introduce myself, my name is Dale Wyatt. I run a small bookkeeping and accounting business called Nova Business Services, and I'm here today to assist Skate Victoria and more importantly, help assist with all the clubs involved with Skate Victoria. So today we're going to go through a few things. What you'll learn today is the importance of bookkeeping for your club, preparation of financial reports for the executive meetings at the push of a button, bring back control to the executive committee, not just the treasurer, tracking members' training fees, fundraising, event door takings and income received, as well as allocation for where the funds are going. We're also going to cover things like receiving payments via EFT, funds transfer or direct debits into the bank account, which will avoid any issues with missing payments. We'll go through receipts issuing and payments received to hold everyone accountable, monthly reconciliations to ensure accurate collections and spendings, and finally, of course, we're going to touch on budgets. Now, these are some important things that every club needs to think about. So usually when we think about a club, the first thing we think about when it comes to the bookkeeping side of it is that's the treasurer's role. And that is true. The treasurer's role is to maintain the books and the accounts on an activity level and an administration level, and be able to accurately and promptly report those financial information back to the members and specifically the executives of the club. One of the big things, though, that's important in the bookkeeping is the transparency and making sure that everybody's aware of where it's at and where the finances of the club's at, where the money's coming and where it's going. So that's a big thing that we're going to touch on today. So the importance of the bookkeeping side of in your club is the treasurer. This is a major misconception with the treasurer in sporting clubs. The truth is that the role of a treasurer is not just to maintain the books, but to present correct financial information to the board for regular reviews and analysis. Without correct bookkeeping and ongoing record keeping on a cloud-based system, the task of the treasurer can become very difficult. So what we're going to touch on today is a bit more on the use of a cloud system that you guys can all use very cost effectively for the bookkeeping of each and individual club. And the joys of being able to use the cloud is the accessibility of it, the ease, the change of directorship or the change of executive committee, and specifically any changes in the treasurer. The books can be accessed on cloud, meaning that it's a full system that can be accessed through a web browser on any device, anywhere. So we're going to touch on that a bit too. So just to follow on with that, with cloud software like QuickBooks Online, that's the one we're going to touch on today because it's very cost effective. And when we're trying to save $1 for the clubs, knowing that money is an important factor, we focus on what was the best value for money, and QuickBooks Online came to the party with some good offers for us. With cloud accounting software like QuickBooks Online, the treasurer is able to produce easy to follow information to the club's executive board. So you can see just from these slides here that this is a snapshot of the dashboard that everybody would be able to see, everybody with access to the data file. So the executive board will be able to access this information anytime and better yet in real time. So you can see that you've got your income, your expenses, your profitability and your bank accounts. So at a glance, anyone can see what's available in the bank as well as where the majority of the payments are going and where they're coming from. The next thing to do is to look at what we can do with that information. So with a click of a button, we can now bring deep insight to clubs' financial positions and what we can do to help push the club into a more positive position financially, as well as explaining where the money's going and how the funds came in and going out. So you can see from this slide, now these figures were just randomly made up. You can see from these figures though that this particular club has multiple activities, multiple fundraisers, got some training fees there, and quite easily you can see at a glance what the percentage ratios are and how much profitability is there. So we should be able to see that how much are we netting at the end of the day. What this will do is it will help track our fundraising and make sure that we're not overspending on the fundraising, we're not overcapitalising and actually running a fundraiser backwards. The other thing that these reports do is they bring back control. So cloud accounting will bring back control to the executive board. All executive members are accountable for where the income is coming and going. To manage this, we can introduce user controls and accessibility to allow the committee or even the members access, with limitations of course, to view the financial information for the club at any time, keeping full accountability to each and every member. So gone are the days where one person had control of the books and actually nobody else saw them. We can actually internally audit our own books, and freedom of information to everybody in the club can be there and accountable. So therefore there's no hidden information, no hidden agendas, and it's open for those that require the information to make the decisions for the club. To do this, we simply create new users. Now, a cloud-based system like that can have multiple users on it at any one time, and that can be the executive committee can have full access, they can have report-only access, or they can have limitations. So with QuickBooks Online, we're able to manage access to individual members and allow them, allow what they can and can't access. It's so streamlined and easy to add or remove users. So I touch on the remove there because obviously we know when members come, go, treasurers come, go, it is important to withdraw their access as soon as possible and obviously create new access for a new incoming treasurer. So once we've decided the access level with the member or with the executive will require, you can proceed to enter their details quite easily. This can also be done by the executive committee because they'll have access to it. So it can be done instantly anytime there's a change in access. Access is simply provided creating a user using their email address and name. Another great idea is to use an external bookkeeper like Nova Business Services as your master admin user. This way, when treasurers change hands in a club, there is always someone without any invested interest in the club that can update user access levels and ensure the club's finances continue correctly with the new members or with the new treasurer on board and everything like that. So what that means is we can be your point of call anytime there's a change, anytime there's a question. There is somebody externally that you can call on that is not involved in each and every club, but can assist in any way. So definitely a great idea. I think we know one of the biggest problems with clubs is when a treasurer leaves and trying to get access to that information or a set of accounts that were done in the past. It's hard enough sometimes just to get access to the bank account. So in this way, with a bookkeeper in charge of the data file, one phone call to us and we can set the user levels and remove or add new users as we need be. What you do with that information, once you're logged into your cloud accounting system, one of the first things you need to look at is tracking your income. So tracking members' training fees, fundraisers, event door prizes, door takings, and income received is simple and easy with cloud accounting. Anyone with sales access, so that's our limited access before, anyone with that sales access can create an invoice or a receipt for fees and allocate it with specific categories to track exactly how much money is received and for what. Then issue a receipt on the spot. So what I mean by that is if you're out and about and you're taking fees via a credit card or via cash or something like that, you can actually record it on the spot. And even better, it can be done from any device, a PC, an iPad, a Samsung phone, an Android-based phone, or an iPhone. So that's just some examples, and depending on your access levels, depends on whether you've got access to this. Anybody with a sales access can produce a sales receipt on the spot, no matter where you are. So as soon as money's changed hands in any way, we can record that, and then there's no question about whether somebody's paid or not. Just to give you a rundown, this is a bit about what a sales receipt looks like, just to make sure you guys are recording all your sales receipts correctly. What we really need on this is this is a templated receipt straight out of QuickBooks Online. What we need to make sure is the date's right, all the customer details are right. So every member is then listed, all their details, full amount of details are in there. We can use that for later. It's got a lot of benefits by putting everyone's information, address, phone numbers and everything into this. We can use it for our internal database as well. And then the activities, obviously this one was just an example, but we can have there what the activity was, what the fundraiser was for, or whether it was training fees, and obviously the amount. And then the member will get a copy of this directly, and that becomes obviously their receipt, their proof of payment. Once we've got our sales and we've nailed our sales, the next step is obviously the purchases and the expense side of things. So we need to make sure we record everything correctly, and more so just because we're accountable as an executive committee. You guys are accountable to every member of the club and making sure that you know and you understand that the money is being allocated correctly and enough. So the second thing to recognise once you start a club is the fact that now you need to record all your transactions relating to your club and making sure your purchase invoices are correctly recorded. Not only will this keep you in the good books with your members, but more importantly, it will provide you with an accurate cost of running your club or an event. It is important to recognise the outgoings of your club to ensure that you are keeping your cash flow up. So one of the big things that we've seen in the past with clubs is, unfortunately, cash flow is not focused on enough, and obviously a club strives to keep some cash in the bank so that it can afford to pay for events and special things that it needs to. So we need to keep a close tab on where the money's going and make sure we're not overspending on certain things. And the only way to do that accurately is with a set of books and keeping correct records. Purchases. So to prepare the purchase, you need to start with your supplier, add the date and the reference number, select the item or the service that you're using, and pretty most importantly is complete a note or a memo. Oops. This is a screenshot of a purchase itself or an expense voucher. So this is when something was paid. Again, this was a sample copy. So when something's paid, it's got an item there or a category. In this case, it's rent. It's got a description or a notation. So that clearly you can outline what it is at a glance and be able to explain why we paid for that. And then obviously the important thing is how much it was. So keeping everything open and honest and very visible. One of the big things about computerized accounting and specifically cloud accounting is the use now of this thing called bank feeds. So with every club having a bank account, we can set up a bank feeds, which means it streams those transactions that happen from the bank straight into the system. You can see here with this line item particularly, we've made a rule. So what we can start doing with rules is income and outgoing will match itself up with those sales receipts or those expenses that we've put in, making our job a lot easier when it comes to matching up the bank account and making sure all the transactions are in there. The bank feeds will show up anything that we haven't recorded, in which case we can then go and allocate. We can set rules so that they automatically allocate if they're ongoing expenses, things like that. So I would dive more into that in another session, but definitely a big thing to look at is the use of bank feeds with individual clubs, just to ensuring that the record keeping is 100% right. When you're receiving payments, you can see with the use of bank feeds that the data processing can be made so much simpler when funds are paid directly via EFT or deposited into a club's bank account. The QuickBooks Online system and features can really streamline the processing of payments. In this day and age, the best way to account for your income is to avoid any cash. So what I mean by that is, with the bank feeds that you saw on the previous slide, we get the transaction straight out of the bank. obviously, if somebody pays you in cash, there is no transaction yet until that money's gone and been deposited. And then obviously when it shows up on the bank, it doesn't have any memo detail or information with it other than cash deposit. So making sure that cash is recorded correctly is one of the hardest things that we find clubs struggle with. And it's too easy for cash just to accidentally go missing, and everyone forgets about it and nobody follows up with a receipt until 6 months later. So one of the biggest things we try to avoid in any club now is cash. If we can set a process where people pay in an alternative way, and we've got some ways that you can pay. So there are 3 ways to really streamline your club and receiving payments. One is to set up a direct debit with your members and have payments received on a regular basis automatically. We can set up a recurring receipt in the accounting software to eliminate the need to act on the payments every month. A great way to use this is with Easy Debit. So Easy Debit is someone we highly recommend here at Nova. They've been great for small businesses and clubs alike. So they can make the job easier, and with cloud accounting, we can automatically send out receipts as well. So it makes the treasurer's job a lot easier, and there's no complications. There's no forgetting anything. The other way is credit card reader. So taking credit cards is also a good alternative. It's cash in the bank the next day. There's no problem with it. It's instant and going through the bank account. So there are some great alternatives for accepting credit cards now, and none better than the offer that we have from Square. So Square is a device that when connected through your phone or your tablet, your smartphone can become a mobile FPOS terminal. So we've got Square is someone also that we highly recommend at Nova, and they've given us a bit of a promo as well, given this video. So anytime you mention this video or jump on this link that I've got here, you can get $1,000 worth of your transactions merchant free. So the merchant fees are very reasonable anyway, and considering the amount of time you save or problems you avoid by having money straight in your account via a credit card is something that is definitely well worth it, and safe as houses. The other way is the old-fashioned EFT or funds transfer. So get your members to pay through their internet banking directly into your bank account. Make sure they put a nice clear memo or something with their name, and that's always nice and easy, and the bank feeds will pick that up directly. So again, saving plenty of time with the treasurer's job and keeping accountability there, and everything's transparent. So bank reconciliation. So one of the last jobs of a treasurer is to make sure that the final checking point is done through a bank reconciliation. The idea is to confirm what the books say has come in or out actually matches with the bank account. This is important to ensure money is banked, reports for the executives are correct and accountable. So everything that goes in and out of a bank is then checked off against a bank reconciliation. And then if there's anything on there that looks funny or doesn't add up, the executive committee or the treasurer can look into it a bit further. Using QuickBooks Online, using QuickBooks Online will clear all transactions against your bank account, and once confirmed, all transactions are accounted. At the end of the reconciliation, the difference will be 0, and we can confirm all transactions are correctly accounted. So the example I've given you down here too will show you'll see that the 4th line item in our reconciliation here shows that something is unticked, which means that transaction may not have actually gone through our bank account. The other thing that I can see here, which purposely I did, was a difference of $1,244. So what this tells me straight away is something is missing from the books as well. There's an amount that's either been put in that hasn't been checked off against the bank, which means it never presented in the bank, or something hasn't been put into the accounts but did actually go through the bank. So this is keeping everyone accountable that the money in and out of the bank is correct and accurate. And once that information is correct and accurate, obviously we can use that against other things such as budgets. So part of the treasurer's job is to create a budget beforehand. So we've talked about how to record the transactions and how to account for things correctly. Before you get to all that stage, you should have a budget drawn up about what the members' fees will be and what fundraising is expected and where that money is expected to go. Then once we've done all the data processing and everything, we can match the actual versus budget figures. So if I just go to the next one, you'll see here that budgets can be prepared monthly, quarterly, or annually. We would recommend maintaining a monthly budget for every club. So this is a QuickBooks snapshot of a budget that's just roughly been prepared. Every month it's got the amounts, how much and where it's going. We can take this information then and we can apply it against the actual figures that we recorded or the treasurer has recorded. And we can then follow up if something doesn't add up. We can investigate why. The executive committee can make informed decisions knowing what the budget is and why it's gone over or why it's under. And best of all, if it's under, what more can we invest the money in to improve the club? Budgets should also be split into different events, fundraisers, etc., as well as training fees or memberships. Breaking your budget into categories will help allocate your finance and give the executive committee a greater understanding of the performance of the club. If you need any assistance with setting up the budgets, please don't hesitate to call my office at Nova Business Services on the number listed below. Definitely big important thing is budgets. Without a budget, you're not setting the roadmap of where you want your club to be, and you can't guarantee success. The only way to guarantee success and long-term jeopardy of your club is to run a budget and then obviously monitor afterwards from then on every month. The final thing that I wanted to touch on was it is essential to ensure all expenses claimed have a receipt or a source document. Keeping these records filed safely and securely inside is the fun side to running a club. Yes, it's not the fun side. One of the joys of QuickBooks Online is we can actually attach those receipts to every transaction. So not only do we have them, they are accessible to all the committee. They are accessible anytime, anywhere, and for the life of your accounting software. So they don't fade, they don't deteriorate, they don't tear, they don't get lost, they don't lose, they don't move with treasurers. They just stay in the accounting file, one location on the cloud. So no matter what device you're using, somebody can actually open it, see that that receipt is what it said it was. Everybody's accountable, and like I said, just transparency is there so that all clubs know that their committee is looking after them and in best interest of them. So that's about all I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to thank our sponsors, MYOB and QuickBooks Online, who helped me put this together. QuickBooks Online have offered us a massive special for you guys at the moment for clubs, which is access to their Plus version, which includes multi-users. It includes all the bells and whistles for a special price of $15 a month for Skate Victoria Association clubs. So please get in touch with us. We urge everybody to keep a set of books, and there's nothing better than keeping a set of books on the cloud where it's accessible, where it can be very transparent, and where we can, access it and change users when needed. Yeah, I think that's about it. So if anyone's got any questions or any concerns or wants to action something, if you want to take up your bonus copies with Square, if you want to get in touch with Easy Debit, I've given you the link. Anything at all, want to ask me any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, 1-800-668-225. Or talk to the executives of Skate Victoria. I'm sure they'll put you in touch with me. Happy to help as always, guys, and all the best. Have fun and best wishes to every club.